A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
So buttons on your socks, as Walter likes to say.
That's weird, man.
So buttons
so
on your
fucking uncomfortable. That's some weird.
Yeah, I don't know where it's from. It's from some, I don't know, probably 50s.
Yeah,
slang.
Dude, that dude's all about churning butter and shit.
He is about churning. So actually, I guess he told me he just got a butter churn for his birthday.
Good boy. Right, because I listened to the gluten is not your whatever problem, and he was talking about churning butter with a marble in a baby food jar or something.
Yes.
Just a mother of invention, necessity. He's like, I need fresh churned butter.
So I have a few things I wanted to get your insight on, Jerry. But one is, did you see any clips from this last week's Saturday Night Live?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see the when Bill Burr did the Samuel Adams commercial?
Oh no, I didn't do that one last night.
You didn't watch that one?
No, I watched last week. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, okay. So for anybody out there who didn't see it, go stop the show. I'm going to explain it. And I guess I should have mentioned this to you earlier so you could have watched the 3-minute clip. But basically, it's a commercial for Sam Adams pumpkin spice beer. Uh-huh. And you're familiar with Bill Burr and his cantankerous, angry Massachusetts self.
Yeah.
So it's all these people going like, ooh, this is really good. I'm not a beer drinker, but this is delicious. And they're like, Sam Adams making the great beer. And he's like pounds it. He's like, I don't like this shit, Mm-hmm. Or he's like, spits it out. He's like, what is this garbage? And it's like him with I think he's got like a jersey on with a vest and he's got a broken arm. He's got his arm in a cast and just looking all rough. And at one point he's like fighting with his kid and he's like, yeah, you want to take a swing at your old man? Huh? Is today the day? And they're like in the cereal aisle. And he's like, Reese's Puffs, put that shit back. What are you, an 8-year-old? Go get some cornflakes, And like, so it's basically, and I'm watching this and it's pretty funny, right? Because, and I don't want to go into Bill Burr's monologue, which has all kinds of other implications about cancel culture and wokeness and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
he likes that shit.
I mean,
that's why I kind of avoided it actually.
Right.
It just kind of, he pisses me off. I used to like him a lot, but now
me too.
Like, anyway.
And I mean, my whole thing is like, I don't think anyone's getting canceled if you're still getting asked to host SNL because they didn't ask me last week.
Doing fucking great, exactly. And I haven't been saying wild shit, and nobody's asked me to host anything.
Right.
Maybe a Zoom AA meeting.
Right. So this thing goes, and it ends with him like threatening and like dragging his son, and they're like having this tussle in the grocery aisle, and all the other people who are supposed to be enjoying their pumpkin spice beer are kind of awkward and weird, and it's this sort of Sam Adams, and I got a message from somebody who I know, and they're from the Boston area. And they were like, they sent that to me kind of like, haha. And I said, yeah, it's part of me thinks it's funny, but like a part of me thinks it's pretty painful too. And they said, yeah, that's just kind of a way of life about, I don't know. They said something like, abusive parents who work hard but that's their good parenting, right? Right. And I really was kind of, and I don't want to ruin the joke and I don't want to be a killjoy, but like there seems to be this culture that is celebrated of abusive parents. And in specific, I mean, I don't want to say everybody, but the Boston stereotype, right? Or the East Coast stereotype or the old school stereotype. Which, can mean East Coast. I've heard that term old school, where, we're just old school. We just don't do things like they do or nowadays. And I don't know, man, like the idea of an alcoholic, abusive parent who is, stifling their own emotions and threatening their children and causing, aggression and passive aggression and all this stuff. It really didn't ring that funny to me on second thought. When I started to think about the expression that we have or that this comedy bit, this sketch was trying to make, was that was funny, that he was an asshole.
Right. But it
That
just
real Bostonians are assholes, or you know what I mean?
yeah, it just sounds like your cancel culture is really showing right now, John.
I mean, maybe.
Sounds like you're being really you're being just kind of cuck. You know what I'm saying?
Am
No, I don't know. I didn't watch the sketch, but that being said, I mean, we all have different experiences with it. You know, like you grew up with an abusive old man. Do you know what I mean? Who stifled you and shit. You know, I grew up with my dad being absent for a lot of my life, but my mother grew up with abusive parents and kind of, she wasn't necessarily abusive with us, but it definitely wasn't the most healthiest of households I grew up in. I don't know if anybody really grew up in an ideal household. I don't even know if I'm providing an ideal household for my daughter. I would hope I am. But that being said, I think it would probably sting you a little bit more because you're coming in with bias already. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's also bias against Bill Burr. Like I was like, man, I don't want to watch this because I made it through part of his comedy routine or whatever, and I his previous special, and I couldn't finish it because it was just pissing me off because I know people who actually think like that and apply that thought to their life. That it's not a joke. These aren't jokes. This guy is actually signaling to them that being intolerant to other people is okay because the way you were raised was intolerant, and I just can't fuck with that anymore. So when I saw that he was on Saturday Night Live, I'm like, good for you, dude, but like I just don't really, you're not funny to me very much anymore, except for F is for Family is fucking hilarious to me still for some reason, which also he's an abusive parent, you know. I remember being in the car in Seattle with my dad and my mom, and I was kind of half cocked. They came to visit me, and we were a little drunk, and we were driving to a bar you worked at. And I was talking about how at work we used to really relate about getting our asses kicked by our parents because my mom used to beat us with ice water. She didn't wear chanclas. And that's like the whole Mexican joke. The Mexican-American joke is that your mom hits you with a chancla. And we all relate on that. Our moms hit us with a flip-flop, you know, fucking rubber flip-flop or a sandal, a chancla. And my mom didn't wear them, so she would hit us with a fly swatter. And I was like joking about that because in hindsight, it's kind of funny. Like you, like I was getting hit with a fly swatter. Now the repercussions, the ramifications of all that as you grow up, and that, you know, it kind of fucks with your head a little bit. But anyway, while I'm telling this joke, talking about this story to my dad lightheartedly, my dad got really fucking defensive and he got pissed off. He was like, listen, man, I was an alcoholic. I wasn't around. Your mother was working with the best that she had. And I think it's fucked up for you to joke about that. And like, you know, because he felt like it was me. I guess it was an attack to him. Do you know what I mean? It was something he wasn't comfortable with. And I didn't realize it in the moment. And I guess now looking back on it, yeah, like normalizing an abusive childhood could be a coping mechanism. Do you know what I'm saying? So you can look at the brutality of it, and you can look at the unfairness of it and the unhappiness of it and the way that those are the origins, in my opinion, the ways that those are the origins of my future behaviors. And I can either feel really raw about it or I can laugh about it and be like, man, that was fucked up. I'm glad I made it through. And I'm glad the people I'm with grew to not do that anymore. I don't know, man. I think for you, it rings a little differently because I think you feel like, and I can't tell you how you feel, but my observation is like, maybe your old man never grew from it. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like he just kind of stayed the same and then passed away, you know? So for you, I think it rings different, and I think you should own it. I think you should absolutely own it. If you feel that way, fuck it. Who cares? It's a Bill Burr bit about beating your kids while you're drunk. I mean, it's
okay. I initially I laugh like that's, you know, when you say that.
I mean, think about the Chappelle Sam Adams skit. That shit was fucking hilarious. Yeah. Makes you want to fight a motherfucker. Like that shit to me is funny. It's still funny. So I'd have to watch the Burr bit, but like I said, he makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, what is this fucking cancel culture and shit? Like, give it a rest. Like, times are changing, Joe Rogan. Times are changing, Bill Burr. Times are changing. You, Jerry Seinfeld, you either roll with it or you fucking don't. But you sitting in the corner, I don't know. This is a whole other thing other than alcoholism. It always annoys me.
And I'm not saying at all that people should not. Like that, I'm not saying that sketch shouldn't be made.
No, make it.
I'm not saying that I don't believe that, despite that, Bill Burr is not a multifaceted human being with a you know, rich tapestry of emotion, feeling, thoughts, and insight, wisdom, experience, all of those things, and that I don't want to I certainly don't want to judge him solely on a, a sketch or a joke or a single thought or idea, because I don't think
Right.
that's helpful in any sort of dialogue to just be like, oh yeah, see, that's the problem there. Don't you
Right.
see, you could be using your energy towards something better, or don't you see what you're doing now? There is the problem of these people who have big platforms and say these things, and like you said, that a lot of the people that listen to them latch on to a joke, and then it becomes a personality trait or an ideology.
I know that personally, I share space with motherfuckers. That turned me off about it even more because I was like, you really think that this is okay? Like, but anyway,
So, but
I
it
don't
was just the pumpkin spice beer
right. Which I
was the
loved. I used to love pumpkin beer.
I didn't mind it. There was one out of Maine that I remember having that was like, oh, this is good. It was called like Jack-o'-lantern or Jack-o'-head or something like
Yeah.
that. I don't know. Um but yeah, so it was just something that was interesting to me that was a normal thing, and that we
Right.
commiserate as a whole about this particular type of person from this particular area, and that
Mhm.
this is acceptable and that this is true. So it's not like I'm saying we shouldn't discuss it or make comedy about it or anything like that. Please
We
do continue
should.
to.
Yeah.
We
It,
should.
it helps the hurt. It really does. Laughing about it helps the pain.
Uh-huh.
It does.
I just feel that there are deeper problems that are in that comedy as far as alcoholism goes. And it just kind of
Right.
struck me in a different way than it normally did when I watched it. Because I
Right.
watched it and I was chuckling and I was like, yep, I know exactly what it's like to fucking pound a beer and be like, this tastes like shit, man. We might
Right.
as well
Yeah.
finish them. Let's
Yeah.
get them done quickly.
Yeah.
Um, but so it was just an interesting insight this morning when I came across it, and I was like, oh, okay, huh. I guess that's just, I don't really have
Maybe it's a little, you're sitting there with your fucking peanut butter oats, fucking looking at the birds and contemplating your weird new hippie lifestyle, and that joke just had a little bit too much umami. It was a
it
little too
did. It was a
spicy.
little
You were
savory, a
like,
little
ooh,
spicy,
maybe I should have fucking had some Doritos before this one instead
right?
of my John
So,
Denver flaxseed fucking
mhm.
porridge out here.
Got to put chia seeds in my oatmeal.
I put chia seeds in my oatmeal though. But I also listen to Minor Threat when I'm doing it, so you know.
Nice. So yeah, man, I just think it's interesting, and I think it's something to consider when we laugh at these things and when we laugh
Mhm.
at these stereotypical, because I don't think everybody from Boston is a alcoholic abusive asshole.
Right. And I also don't think every alcoholic is an abusive asshole either.
Right.
We don't all fit. We all fit in one mold in the sense that we have the compulsion to rely on a substance to the point where it completely hinders our lives or kills us. Right. That's our fucking mold. But other than that, we're all different. Like I know alcoholics who are active alcoholics who are like really fucking nice people, even when they're drunk. They just keep doing this compulsion till it either, till it fucks up all, till everything else falls by the wayside and they fuck up everything else. I can't ever fault an active alcoholic. I can, but I can't as well. I can't be like, oh, that guy's a drunk. That's why he's a piece of shit. I used to be like that actually. And then over the past few years, I've come to realize that that's kind of bullshit. Like, I don't know, man. I
What
think we really
that just being a drunk makes you an asshole, or
yeah.
that it
Oh,
does?
yeah. I'd be like, that guy's an alcoholic. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Fuck that. Fuck that person. Or that lady's a drunk or whoever, that.
Right.
So I would say that one indicator. I used to be really judgmental, and that one indicator was like, well, that person has everything they're doing, it has like really small validity. The validity of it is a lot less than me because I'm the sober warrior or whatever.
Mhm.
But I don't really feel that way anymore. As I get older, I realize it's all less about the binary and more about, all these shades of gray. Same with that joke. I bet you if you watch that joke later this evening, it would have hit a little differently. I bet it's all mind frame too. And people like to jump on that, what they're feeling in the moment, it hits them hard and then they get all fucked up about it. And then that's also the credo they follow, just like people I know who the credo they follow is like anti-feminist or anti-trans or you know what I'm saying? Like it's really easy to put things in a box and just stick with them that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
I didn't watch it. I'll watch it though. Maybe I don't know. Like I said, I don't find him very funny, but I love Saturday Night Live. So I'm like, and also I don't find Saturday Night Live really funny sometimes either. I'm like, oh, this is stupid.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
Alec Baldwin's Trump is hot trash, dude.
well, this particular episode was highly lauded for many different things, and Kate McKinnon and some other stuff, but it just kind of popped up and I was like, oh, and I started watching it, and of course, the chuckle started, and then I was like, oh, that's really fucking painful. And like,
Yeah, it hits you. A little umami hits you
so-
spicy. I get it, man.
so-
I get it.
so that's all.
Yeah. Dude, I can't watch any, and I don't want to get political, but once again, like due to personal experience and relatability, like I can't watch Trump comedy stuff because of my strong feelings for him. And I know this is a recovery podcast, but I'm trying to make it relatable, right? Like someone's like, oh, do you ever watch that cartoon Trump on Showtime, whatever? And I'm like, no, because there's nothing funny about the man to me. Like I don't derive humor from it because of my relation to it.
Right.
That awkward comedy, like Meet the Fockers, like I can't stand that shit because
Curb
of
Your
my
Enthusiasm, not your thing.
Oh man. And I love Larry David, and I think he's great, but I can't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm because of the social like awkwardness of it. It's not funny to me. It makes me highly uncomfortable because of my relatability towards it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that being said, I kind of
What
buried
letter
the
are
lead.
we on?
Well, exactly. P for pumpkin spice beer. We're on letter P. But I did bury the lead a little bit, just because I wanted to talk about that first. That was on my mind. But I had a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about, Jerry, is purpose and procrastination.
Oh
And
God. It's turned into
excuse
a
me.
lecture.
I know. Well, no. So I had a conversation. It's not a lecture. I want your
I'm
input.
fucking
I
with
want
you.
your insight.
No, yeah. I'm here to provide, man. I'm
But,
I'm a what is it? Bottomless well of insight.
I was talking to our long-haired friend on the phone the other day, and he was talking to me about, dealing with shit and having, like you talk about having to move, and he's having to move soon. And we were having this long conversation about the purpose in life, and like, what is your purpose? And he was saying he's going to work with this guy every single day, and he's been doing the same thing for years and years and years.
Mhm.
And he said, you know what, man? He said to me, and you'll love this. He said something like, there's no more mysteries to unearth there. Yeah, I have learned everything I can learn.
At the painting job?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What other mysteries would be in the painting job? And I know right now, if he's sitting here, he's gonna be like, fucking Jerry. That's not what I mean.
But it struck me in a way that when we had this conversation about purpose, and that this continual going to work, doing something over and over, and I could quite possibly do it over and over for the next 30 years. I could probably go wait tables over and over for the next 30 years. And I often wonder about, like, what is my purpose, and how do I see myself, and how do I best use what I have now? Right? Is it making sure that somebody gets Brussels sprouts to start the meal? Is that the best use of my time?
No, that's an awful
Probably
use
not.
of time. Baby, it's fucking capitalism. We live in a capitalist society. Would you really choose to fucking go serve people Brussels sprouts and wine in a wildfire? No. You probably wouldn't do it on a sunny day. We live in a capitalist society. So I think the idea of basing our purpose on work is a really shaky foundation. But then again, where do we base our purpose on then? See, this is the question, right? Huh.
Well, welcome to the resistance, comrade.
And then, welcome. See, you've taken the red pill. I want to reclaim the red pill, by the way. This is going to be a slightly political episode. I can tell already. I'm sorry. Well, everybody, I'm sorry. Don't drink. You'll be all right.
Don't
okay.
Drink. But the purpose. So as I was sitting out there in the sun, I had this thought. I'm out there and I'm enjoying this oatmeal, and the birds are chirping, the sun, and the weather is perfect and it's glorious. And I've got the little rocking chair that I put out in the sun, so I can kind of just rock there. Obviously, that's my happy place, right?
Right.
And I was like, is there a choice? Would you choose to go to work today? Like, would you choose it? I was like, no, I would choose to go and be out in the wild somewhere, running or biking or doing something active. And like, do I need to have some sort of like, maybe P is for productivity, but is there something that has to absolutely be productive today? And I was like, no, I wouldn't choose to be productive. I wouldn't choose to, unless it was something I was passionate about. There's another P
Right.
for you, Jerry.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, except I have led myself through some bad decisions or just some decisions. We don't have to judge them either if we really don't want to, wherein I need money today, this week, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm going to go trade in some time for some money. And
Right.
hopefully it feels good at the end of the day. Unfortunately, with my job, I have no idea how much it's going to actually pay me. I mean, I have a rough estimate and it's not bad, but it's kind of like if you don't have any appointments, you've had days where you probably don't do shit. And then you've had days where you're busy all day, right?
Right. I'd have a day where I'd come in like on a Sunday, and then I'd come in at noon, and then if I had nobody come in by like 1:30, 2 o'clock, I'd just go home. And the people I worked with were blown away by that. They'd be like, "Why are you leaving? You can make money. You miss out on an appointment." I'm like, "Because I don't want to waste my day sitting here waiting in this room,
Mm-hmm.
in this box. I want to go be outside. I want to go hug my daughter. I want to sit in my backyard. I want to go paint."
Mm-hmm.
Even with the painting now, I think that's why I gravitate towards it so much more because I feel like I'm being productive. I'm going and making something. I'm not just I'm making what other people want, but I don't know, it just feels
Mm-hmm.
different because I'm not sitting in a box in downtown Eugene watching bums shit on the floor across the street, waiting to do something I feel no passion about. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. Productivity. I think we need to be productive as human beings, right? We have to make things or do things or work on something. But the idea of doing it, trading our time for money, has always fucked me up. I've always hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Never liked it, man. That's
Well,
why I
and I
didn't go
think
into produce, dude.
let's say that again.
That's
Why
why
going
produce. I was born and raised,
produce?
well, of course, little backstory for Jerry. I was born and raised on the border to Mexico, and being on the border, it's a huge hub for produce grown in Mexico. My entire family, they're a produce family. My father was a produce salesman for 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Like my uncle's all produce. My grandfather was a truck broker. We're all produce. And they've always said, well, why doesn't Jerry just go into produce? He's got the name, he's got the family legacy. He could make really good money just on his name alone, just selling produce. And I was like, because I don't want to trade my time doing that. That's not for me. It doesn't work for me. Like I want to
Right.
make things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's not a noble profession. People have to eat. You know what I'm saying? And you have to make sure that goods go from point A to point B. I don't discount it. Just for me, I don't
Right.
want to sit in an office and figure out how I'm going to get goods from point A to point B or whatever it is. It just wasn't my jam.
Mm-hmm.
No, man. I had
No
like
produce, pun intended.
no
Wasn't my
produce
jam.
pun intended. It wasn't my jam, dude. Now I'm trying to think of produce puns. God damn.
Get some fresh beets.
Yeah, dude, some fresh. So I
Um,
guess what is it? Productivity and
well,
procrastination.
no, purpose. Your purpose in life.
Purpose.
So
So
what I
what's
hear
the
from you,
purpose?
what is purpose? So one thing I think about, if you go back and listen to an episode like a year ago and we talk about this and you'd be like, yeah, man, can't really quit my job. I don't really want to paint somebody else's paintings. And I would hear you say like, yeah, I can't just fucking quit my job. And then the whole thing, like, I want to paint for me. And what I see now is that you have taken in a time of crisis, which was basically the beginning of the pandemic. Well,
Right.
what the fuck am I going to do? Well, I literally can't go to work. So now I'm not making any money. And then we begin to see, oh, I can survive without making money. I mean, not for long, but like,
No.
but then you were like, okay, I can do this. And you found some sort of purpose and interest in doing these paintings for other people. It didn't zap all of your joy for painting away because it
Not
was somebody
yet.
else's dog.
Right.
Fair enough. It is still
Fair enough. You
fresh.
never know. It is still fresh. Yeah, exactly. And it could, but then I can always walk away from it. I mean, I took a hiatus from painting for like a year. I just stopped painting. But go ahead, carry on.
So I think about that for me and like, what do I do? What do I like to do? What am I interested in? What are the things like even in the job that I have now is I like putting stuff together. And by that I mean like the production side and putting puzzles together and organizing people and time and places, and whether it be like the podcast or even when I'm putting to go orders together, there's like this whole little thing about what do I need and where is everything, and having things organized in a certain way, and calling out orders to the chef and talking to them and knowing when they've forgotten something before they know they've forgotten it, and kind of like, hey, just so you know, I need this. And so, I'm trying to understand what that might be. And the best word I can come up with, and I don't know if this sounds pretentious, but is a producer of something, whether it be a podcast or whatever that thing might be, of some kind of artwork. For me, that's what I like to do. And I like to collaborate with other people, with you and, with other people that I've collaborated with. And so that's kind of my, because I like writing, I like creating, I like editing, I like all those things. And, before we ever started this podcast and talking about sobriety, I never wanted sobriety and recovery to be in the forefront of that. Right. I say out loud on the podcast. Like, I didn't want to be known for it. I didn't want to be defined by it. It was like, it was fine if it was a thing in my life and it sort of played in the background, and it was even fine if it was a foundation for all the other things that I was going to do. But I never wanted it to be the defining thing. And now, we sit here talking about it on a weekly basis.
Right.
I had this book that I've been working on for fucking years. I'm terrified because mostly it's not as big and as vast as you saw as something that somebody's actually been working on, but a lot of it has been not working on it too. But like trying to find a purpose, man, because there's not going to be a better time than right now. And I say that I say that knowing that I'm going to be going to go wait tables in a couple of hours.
Right.
So I have trouble balancing it like anybody else. How do you feel about your being vocal and open and you being defined by your sobriety or your recovery? Does it matter?
I don't think about it that much.
Okay.
I really don't. I do and don't. And it's always really comparative is what it is. This is the most I really talk about it is on this podcast, unless I'm talking to my wife or someone brings it up. But I'm also in this house. I've been in this house for 7 months now with just my wife and kids. So I can't be like, hey, Olive, let me tell you about my rock bottom, or let me tell you about my perspective of being sober. But I'm also like very real with that kid about drugs and alcohol and stuff. But that being said, like, I think it's more in your forefront than it is mine. Like, it's just an aspect of my personality, but it's not like the main part of my personality. It's just a big part of who I am and who I was and who I will be and all that other shit. What I do think about when we're talking is like, what are, that big philosophical question of what is purpose or what is your purpose of life, which is, I mean, really a human being problem more. A dog doesn't think about his purpose in life. A horse doesn't, I don't think. I don't know. I'd have to ask the horse, but what I think is how as part of my recovery was like, I didn't want my purpose in life to just be a machine that drank. You know what I mean? And like, that was it. And then having some good times and lighting off a road flare in the house and woohoo or whatever. And then those are just those tiny blips on just drinking. And so, I don't know, man, I looked at work, I looked at the tattoo shop, and I was like, do I want this to also be my purpose? Like, this is all I do, is all I am as a tattooer. I've always really resented that like the depth of my character was that I tattooed, and that all people wanted to talk to me about was what they wanted to get tattooed on them. And I just didn't. I was like, I'm happy for you and that's great, but that's not who I am. There's a lot of other facets to me as a person. So with me in recovery, that's not the facet I come forward with. Do you know what I mean? I don't shake hands and go, hi, I'm an alcoholic. Like, I don't shake hands at all anymore. But, I don't elbow bump and say, hi, I'm an alcoholic. But if it comes up, I'm open. I'm an open book, but that's like a chapter of my book. It's not the title of the book, know? So for me in recovery, if I can sit down and talk to you with you about this for an hour a week, and and other people listen to it and get something from it, that's what I want. You know what I mean? But I don't have to remind everybody around me constantly that I'm sober, or be on Instagram and be like, I'm fucking sober, because I just am. And if you know me, you know that's what I do now. Because if you knew me as a drunk, that's all I did was remind everybody I was a drunk.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, by my actions and by my clothes. I wear clothes that were like alcoholic on the front. I had that bar star, this 80 with a big 86 on the back, and a t-shirt, that said alcoholic on the front. But like that's all I did. Every photo on Instagram was like a bar photo. Everything was reminding you that I like to have a really good time. And I'm not like everybody else because I like to get drunk and have a good time and get wild and smoke cigarettes and fucking take my shirt off where I shouldn't be taking my shirt off, which I still kind of do now, but shirt thing at least.
In a different way.
In a different way. But that's the thing though, right? Like, so for me, recovery, I'm not embarrassed of it. It's not, I don't know. I think you and I hold it in different regards, but it's really important to both of us. But we have different ways of expressing it, We also have incredibly different lives, you and I.
Yeah.
We live two very different lives.
Yeah. I think too, because I handle, somewhat intermittently, but I handle the social media aspect of this podcast. There's a little more interaction and
Very
sort
much
of
so,
like having to think about how I curate what our perception or how people perceive us.
Yeah.
How people perceive this.
We talked about this last week where I was like, yo, this is podcast Jerry. This is not Jerry at home Jerry, I curse way more at home than I do on the podcast. But yeah, and I also think maybe you might have a different perspective of it because you handle alcohol as well at work. So it's almost like I'm not here to analyze you, but I feel like I've been doing that a lot. But it's almost like your shield, like, yo, my recovery is my shield. Like I wear this on my chest because you're having to touch booze and bring it to people. Like my wife bought a bottle of Monopolova like 4 days ago, and it's just been, dude, she's had like 2 drinks out the motherfucker. It just sits there in the shelf in the fridge, and it's a reminder. It like glows, but it doesn't glow in a good way. No, that's the wrong word for it. It doesn't glow. I'm aware of it. It's in my periphery. I open up to get ice. It's right there. I don't want the Monopolova. I really don't because I know what comes of it. But I guess with you've got to like be around it all the time. Like, yeah, I wear my recovery like a shield. And I don't know if you do or not. This is just how I see. When I see you, that's how I see it. Whereas I'm rarely around booze.
Yeah, I mean, when people ask me about it, like a guy was asking me something about, oh, how are the podcasts doing or whatever, and I was telling him, the gluten is not your problem. We haven't recorded one, and Walter's been dealing with some other shit and been busy, and so it's like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, but the other one's going really well, and I said, yeah, I do one, and I was telling him about this one, and he's like, oh, I didn't know that, and he's just kind of like, right, and there was just this sort of like, oh, like. What's that little meme where the little puppet is like looking forward and then looking to the side?
Yes.
Do you know that one?
I know exactly. I pictured it immediately.
Oh. And
you're one of those.
Oh, you're one of those.
You're a fucking yard sale in a rainstorm.
What did you say? A yard sale in a rainstorm?
Yeah, that's how I always felt. Just all my shit out in the lawn while it's getting rained on, and I'm like, party time.
But yeah, so it wasn't the conversation didn't go any further than that, and I have no idea. I don't know if this person has a problem or feels they have a problem, or maybe they don't give a shit, or they're just like, oh, wow.
Surprised that you hold yourself together so well.
Right, exactly. Because, the stigma of an alcoholic is that you're a mess, and it's like, well, yeah. So there's, and I do, so at work, it doesn't come up very often. But when it does, I tell people straight up. Yeah. And yes, I'm in a 12-step program. Yes, I go to AA meetings. Yes, I am in recovery. No, I don't care if you have another glass of wine while you're working back here in the corner. And
you're like, what shit do I give?
There's like the little happy hour cart that they set up for themselves with potato chips and Chardonnay. And I'm like, that's cool by me. Like, you're not, it's not bothering me. It doesn't, if it's not affecting your work, I don't really care.
Right.
So yeah, man, it's just it comes. I guess it comes up a lot more for me. But
yeah,
I don't have a problem with it anymore. And in fact, I think I try to have it be a healthy expression. There are other things, that I like, that I get into and that I enjoy, and not everything has to be sobriety related, but this just happens to be where I'm at right now. And who the fuck knows where we're going to be next year?
Right. And I think it's like it's all connected for you, just like it is for me. It's all interconnected. Like you run because you're sober. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you are aware of your fitness and your health now because you're sober. Like you do this podcast and you have lots of lots of messaging time with social time with other people because of your sobriety. You know, you're way more like you got your elbows, you're up to your elbows in it way more than I am. But that's just because this is my choice is to always be off standish. Man, I'm always 1 foot out the door with everything. You've known me for years. I don't commit really to a lot of shit. I'm like, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, that's why when we were talking about artwork the other day and you were like, is there a deadline on this? And I was like, no, not now. It's probably fine for now. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I need to really give him a deadline or he won't do it.
Right. Or I'm just not going to do it until I get to Arizona. That's probably what we're looking at.
Which, I mean, you got a lot on your plate right now. And I'm not.
I got so much on my plate.
Are you joking? You're not joking. Oh.
What, about the Arizona thing? We'll see what
things on your plate. Your plate's full.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have so much on my plate. I'm like so full. It's crazy. No, I'm not being sarcastic. As a matter of fact, my wife and I started talking about it and I started spiraling last night. And I was like, I need to finish these paintings. I need to tattoo this client of mine. I need to get my stuff from the shop. We need to pack. We need to do this. And Megan's like, one step at a time, dude. You're already doing. And that's when the alcoholism came up because she's like, you're already doing your shit one day at a time as it is. So just one day at a time this. Don't worry about it. You worry about all of it at once. It's going to drive you crazy. Because I literally was getting bug-eyed like, fuck. I have to do everything, and I'm not even started yet. Like, I'm barely started, and we got to get this all out of here by mid-December. And she's like, it's okay. One day at a time. There's 2 of us. We got it. So, yeah, man, I don't know.
I just think that
a lot more than me.
She's grounded a lot more.
I said you're around it a lot more
around
than
it.
me.
Yes.
I was looping back to our
yes.
previous subject.
So it's not only is it I'm not happily, or how do I want to put this? I'm not out there proudly waiting for any moment to interject my sobriety and recovery into a conversation, right?
You don't have a t-shirt. Yeah.
Right. And in fact,
like former blackout artist on your t-shirt.
Right, exactly.
It's hilarious still, but yeah.
Former blackout artist. There's one girl at work and she still will ask me if I want to taste the wine. Now, I don't know if I've ever had a direct conversation, but I feel like I have. So every time I just go like, no, I'm really good. I'm good. You go ahead. You enjoy. And then she'll ask me again, like the same day. The same, like, are you sure you don't want to taste this Pinot Noir? My friend made it, or it's really delicious. And I'm like, I'm really okay. Thank you so much.
So you're not alcoholic?
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I don't enough and I can't pass judgment, right? I mean, you have to decide that for yourself. You can say what you will about people who drink at work, but I mean, the restaurant business is fraught with that. That's part of it. That's
just coming
really just, and that's probably problematic in its own right because of the levels of stress and anxiety that are put into restaurants, so that your ability to make money is only if you are continually overworked and stretched too thin.
Ooh. Yeah, dude, right? You're plugging the leaks while they show up. Fuck that. My love goes out to anybody in the service industry, especially dealing with recovery. But maybe you gotta look at this girl and just put your hands on her shoulders and be like, Kelsey, I'm a fucking alcoholic. I don't fucking drink. Put that in your brain. And shake her, and she'll never forget. Shake the fuck out of her, and she won't forget.
An alcoholic.
I'm a fucking alcoholic. If I drink this, I will burn this place down.
Basically, you'll find me sleeping in the back, you know, passed out in the kitchen.
I will be in my car, asleep in the parking lot because of your fucking Pinot Gris. Chill the fuck out, Kels.
I know where the whiskey is in the basement. Well, they do, like, they use a little bit for, it's just so funny. There's like they put a little bit of bourbon in this vanilla maple ice cream or whatever. And so, like, very often with the dish pit or something, you'll see on the rack a big handle jug of Jim Beam just sitting there empty.
Oh man!
And it's just kind of funny to me because they're like, "Oh, just put a little bit in the ice cream." you know.
This little teaspoon. I love it though. I love that threat. You're like, I know where they keep the whiskey. That's so fucking funny to me. I don't know why that just
I know where
lights
they
up
keep.
in my head.
I know where they keep the sambuca. I know where they keep the yeah. So, but it's mostly just for pastries.
Yeah.
So I just think about my purpose and that wanting this. Well, one, this initial desire to want to uncouple it from my sobriety, and now it can be incorporated and it can be a part of it, and it doesn't have to be everything, and I don't have to wear a t-shirt that says, you know, proud to be sober, or
Right.
you know, like sober
I want to throw that out there though. If you do, that's cool though. We're not judging you. I'm really not judging you. I just meant it more as an analogy than anything else, or metaphor.
Right. The t-shirt as a metaphor. And so
yeah, the t-shirt
because I didn't want to, right? And I don't know what that is. Maybe there's something, an issue in there where I'm like, well, why do you not want to talk about it? And I just don't want to inundate people with my shit because I've done it for so long as an alcoholic, as a drunk. I was interjecting my problem. Yeah, exactly. So I think, but I have no problem with the two of them coexisting at this point as I try to navigate creating a life where I don't have to clock in and clock out, so to speak, for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that sounds really vague and whatever, but I mean, because it is. I haven't figured out a plan yet. I haven't written down the steps about how to create that life.
Right. Maybe that's your purpose, is figuring out the plan.
Right. That's,
you know what I mean? Like maybe the fucking treasure was the journey all along.
the true treasure was the friendship they found.
The friendship and the journey. It was never about getting the Declaration of Independence. It was about the trip we took to get it.
I never saw National Treasure. Was it good?
No, I never saw it either. I just my brain connected it.
The last Nicolas Cage movie I think I saw was Bad Lieutenant Protocol.
I've seen a bunch of wild shit he's done. I would suggest those over National Treasure. Like The Color of Space or whatever. Color Out of Space is fucking wild. Mandy was awesome. Anyway, Mandy was
a horror movie, right?
With the kid. It's great. It's fucking insane. But
so it's just about kind of, I think too, that maybe, although I have to go to a job, and I'm really grateful for the job. I thought about this because I was out of work there while the fire was going on, right? And there was smoke throughout the air everywhere. And, you know, work was in an evacuation zone. And when we got to work, and I got to work a couple days ago, I was really grateful to be able to have an income and have a job. It's just, I just don't want to have it tethered to this one place that could be taken away from me at any given moment.
Yeah.
But I want to stay grateful that I have this as I find my purpose, right? As I find my way, as I travel what is it? I trudge the happy path to destiny. What is it?
The happy road of destiny. Yeah. Trudge the happy road of destiny. Yeah.
As I trudge the happy road of destiny, that I have this to go to,
right,
for the time being, and that I can continue to create my purpose in tandem with having a job.
This is a trip, man. These are like single guy thoughts, right? It's really funny because like yes, yeah, because what you're thinking is like someone who you are already kind of untethered with the exception of work, right? Like I think about my purpose in life. I'm like, so while you're talking, of course, I'm listening, but also thinking about things. And I'm like, what is my greater purpose here? And it's not like these weird things like, oh, tattooing or painting. Like I'm married and have a kid. And I'm like, man, is it that stereotypical, like raise my daughter? But it is like, that is part of my greater purpose now, is to like make sure that I don't fuck this kid up too bad and like send her out into the world with reasoning and common sense and kindness and understanding. And the same with like being married to my wife. And like, to me, marriage was never, what's the word? It was never like this big sacred thing to me. It was just like, okay, we're leveling up our relationship. Now we need, like I told my wife, we need a lawyer to break up. You know, that's all it was. Now you're like my girlfriend. It's like you're like my extra girlfriend, you know? But I mean, even to just be a good partner to someone and be like, and care about them. And like, cause like you gotta like being alone or living life alone. We all live it alone anyway in our own reality, but to be able to like be with someone and be like, all right, you're gonna have a hard time, I got your back. I'm gonna always have a hard time, so you gotta have my back. You know, like our kids might have a hard time, so we gotta have her back. So my purpose gets bigger, like my circle gets bigger. So in some ways I really envy you, because I'm like, man, John's got this really simple fucking life where it's like you just get up and eat your oatmeal, and I know there's more to it. There's like a lot more facets to John.
I mean, I wish
what's
it wasn't,
provincial?
So beautiful, but yeah, provincial.
Your life is, in my mind, your life is very provincial in some ways, because you get up and you eat like the things you need to eat, and you work out and you contemplate, you write in your journal, and then you go run, and then you go to work, and you have kind of this social time at work, and then you come back home, and then like you might call your girlfriend or whatever. You might spend some time with her. You might spend some time alone. You know, like, and to me, it's like very different. There's just a lot
always with somebody.
Yes, and I'm always having to do something for someone else. So I'm always having to wake someone up for school, or make sure they're doing their thing, or feeding dogs and cats. And
I mean, there's a couple of things here, and I think that yes, we do have two very different lives, and that
which is fine.
When I think about my girlfriend, when I think about my partner, and I think about this year and all of everything that it has wrought, WROUGHT, not ROT. But that we are extraordinarily independent people, and we do a lot on our own, and you know, we come together when we can, and we've had problems, and we've had wonderful times together, and it'll be 5 years this month.
Wow.
And I don't even fucking know I don't know what the gift is to give 5 years.
A dog.
No, I don't think she.
That's an awful gift.
No,
don't give animals.
Right. She's like, animals are fine, but they need to stay outside. I don't want any animals in the house. But that's the thing, and you see it, and you're like, yes, you spend a lot of time alone, and you have these, like you said, it almost feels like single guy stuff, and it's, you know, my relationship with my girlfriend is that there's a huge amount of autonomy, and that has allowed me to focus on other things that I wouldn't have if I had a live-in girlfriend. If we were married and we lived together, it'd be a very different life. And I think there are some things about that hugely individualistic relationship that we carry that we talk about it, like, I wish I could see you more, I wish there was more time, and people are just fucking busy, you know.
Yeah, we all got shit to do. I mean, your girlfriend is an independent contractor in her own right, so she has to depend. Do you know what I mean? You both have to depend on yourselves.
So she has all of her own stuff. She's taking classes, she's got work, like I bless it every day. I'm grateful for it every day that she has had regular work in such an irregular industry sometimes, you know. And so and then you have this family unit, which
I know. It's fucking so weird, dude.
Right? So I don't know what that's like to wake up and have people there, and maybe have people awake before you or after you, or have to tend to these things. And so you have this series of responsibilities and tasks that need to be done. And you know, I'm not saying it's footloose and fancy free over here necessarily, but probably a few more hours in the morning that I have to myself than you do.
Yeah.
So trying to find a purpose in life, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but I also don't want to wake up. I don't want to be like 65 and go like, fuck. Am I going to go?
I don't think you're overthinking it. I think you're just really, I think in your recovery, you're hitting a point now where you're really facing your own timeline, and you're like, so what do I do here? What do I do now? What is the purpose of this? Why the fuck am I even sober? If do you know what I'm saying? Like, now that I've got this tool in my belt, what do I do with it? You know, and I still do it too. Like, I wonder about my purpose all the time. But I think, like I said, I think I have everything for me is like basic. I don't want to say basic survival, but everything's really immediate. Like, things need to happen right now, which that happens for you as well at work. You know, so I think when I do have the time and I sit down and think about it, like, what is my purpose? What am I doing here? Like, I'm like, I got to be a dad. That's my purpose. Like, I think maybe my question's already answered, but I know there's more depth to it than that. Do you know what I mean?
You still have Jerry autonomy to explore, right? Like,
Absolutely.
there's not.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of Jerry to explore. I just need to go out in the woods and do it. You know.
I think that would be, if I just can't.
can't express how important it is to be alone to me.
Right.
And I think a lot of people could benefit from that. And I know it's not something that is easy, especially if you have a family and you live in a house and it's the middle of a fucking pandemic and people are unemployed and on and on and on and on.
Right. Right.
Like if I know that if I lived where you lived, if I lived in Eugene, I would be out in the woods at least once a week.
Yeah.
Even the ones that are close, just because that solitude, there's something there that happens that doesn't happen anywhere else for me.
Right. Right.
And
that's why I like to run though.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody there. It's just me. And I pass the other runners on the trail and I nod or give them the hand or whatever. But I think that's why the running for me works really well. But yeah, man, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know what my purpose is. Yeah, it's a strange one. It's a great question, and we didn't even get to the procrastination. We actually literally procrastinated the procrastination part, which you're fucking welcome, podcast listener, because that's meta. But I think my purpose right now, honestly, in sobriety, is to create, because I think when I was drunk, I didn't create as much as I think I destroyed way more than I created, and I think I create way more now than I destroy. And even if it's something I create for me. Even if I were a lousy fucking painter, I'd probably still paint because I wanted to make things, or make music, or just I like making things and stepping back and being like, that came from me. Like that pushed that out of my body. Just like you like collaborating with other people because you're like, I may not be able to make this the way I want to, but this person can, so we can work on it together. Because you can't, you could build a house by yourself, but it probably wouldn't be the greatest house. It'd take forever.
And you'd have to learn a bunch. And
you contract out a bunch of motherfuckers, you can still have them make what you want. You're a producer. We're both producers in different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that too, I love being able to, like, when I hear something or see something and I go, damn it, I can't do that, but I wonder if Jerry has something. And it doesn't even have to be something. Maybe don't even need you to create something brand new. And sometimes it just needs to be simple. Like, it's like, I think about the comic book American Splendor. Yeah. And so it was Robert Crumb who drew it, and it's very dark and depressing and beautiful at the same time. And who was the guy? The movie, what was the guy's name who wrote it?
I can't remember now. It's there too.
I was going to say Harvey Korman, but that's like...
No, but it's Harvey something, yeah.
But so in this American Splendor... You're going to look it up.
Yeah, I'm looking up. I'm listening to you, though.
So he would basically have an idea for a comic, but he couldn't draw for shit. So he would just do stick figures and then doodle the captions, and he would give them to Robert Crumb, and Robert Crumb would draw them. And so it was all his words. And what was the name?
Harvey Picar.
Harvey Picar, thank you.
Yeah.
And so he's this very depressing individual, but it's beautiful in that sort of American Beauty way, right? So things like that to me is like, I'll close my eyes and I might need to borrow a beat or something like that. I just need like a few seconds, a snippet of something. If you've got anything already in your Garage Band
in my
playlist.
Garage Band.
Well, I got an idea. So I got an idea, and I'll talk to you about it off screen. But that I want to borrow from something that we used to do back in the day. So that being said, and finding our purpose and navigating our way, one of the things that fucking troubles me and that puts me into frustration and resistance and anger is my procrastination and my inability to pull the trigger on things. And we talked about this with our long-haired friend. I talked about this with our long-haired friend the other night too, about like, there's no perfect time. Just fucking pull the trigger and dealing with the consequences of pulling the trigger now rather than waiting for a perfect time are better than the consequences of waiting for the perfect time that's never going to come and sitting on it.
Yeah. That's so funny you bring it up with him, because I don't even know if you're talking about me, because literally this is a conversation I was having with my wife. And of course, I'm very self-centered, so fucking everything's about me. And it was just about this moving, because the initial plan was to go to Arizona in June. And I was like, let's just fucking go now. Let's just go now. Why wait? Because if we can deal with the fallout of pulling the trigger now and just pushing off now, then sitting here and dwindling our savings and waiting till it's so-called safe for us, you know.
I wasn't talking about you, but yes, this is a perfect
But
example.
I mean, it just really relates because the idea of procrastination as far as like, I don't know, just cleaning up the mess. When we were drunks, it was like always easier to ask for fucking forgiveness than it was for permission. Do you know what I'm saying? So you know what? I'm going to fucking stand on this table and tip it over and sorry, you know, because if I didn't do that, then we all wouldn't have a story or whatever fucking dumb reason we had for doing what we did when we were drunk. Or I'm going to do, you know, I don't know, any other example. Just, but, maybe we can apply some of that drunk logic to our recovered lives. Because I do think we learn things in active alcoholism. I do think we learn some things. Not lots of things, but some things. Crude things. Very crude things we can refine in
Lots
recovery.
of what not to do kind of stuff, too.
Yes. Oh, tons of what not to do. Yeah.
And it struck me, there was this thing that I heard about procrastination, and I don't know where I heard it. It was either in a meme or probably on fucking TikTok. Which, sorry, I was getting into the conspiracy TikTok there.
You get weird, man. I'm talking about this whole bee thing, but anyway.
They just vibrate, Jared.
They don't. Bees fly because they have wings. That's why they fucking fly. But go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay.
That's like yelling at you on Instagram. I just yell at you on Instagram every day. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're like, and then you laugh. I know you look at it and laugh, and you're like,
lols. Procrastination, and the reason that it gets into my brain like and it just fucks me up and it makes me procrastinate more is that what procrastination is taking the task that I need to do or want to do, and I do it in my head over and over and over, so that by the time I actually have to go do it, I've already done it 100 times in my head, and I don't want to do it. And so I'm like, I already did that thing. And I take as an example, and I've got plenty of excuses because I got to go to work soon, so there's only so much I can do, or whatever it is. Right. Like with the Instagram page and how I would be so stressed out about not getting things out in time, and then I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to do it, and like, you know, it takes time to do this and that and blah blah blah, and then I would procrastinate it because in my mind I didn't want to do the editing of the videos and find the clip and do all this stuff, and I was doing it in my head, and then by the time I sat down to the computer, it was like, ugh, I'm exhausted, I don't want to do this shit because I already did it, right? So it's that same thing is it future tripping, kind of like that idea of like I'm doing the thing in my head and in my subconscious, and my subconscious doesn't know the difference. So maybe do the inverse and imagine it already done, and then just go follow through with that. And so that's something it was an interesting thought on procrastination that made me think, stop thinking about it and go do it and just get it done, and then you don't have to relive that hell, that little mini hell of, you know, thinking about it and not doing it, and then feeling shitty because you didn't do it.
Right.
That was my thought on procrastination. I don't know how you feel about. I mean, because you're now basically, you go and do these paintings. I mean, nobody's forcing you, other than people are saying I'm going to pay you, but I don't know if you're being given deadlines or anything like that. But...
No. Well, I have Christmas deadlines for a couple of them, for fucking 3 of them actually. But I know, I think about it, I'm like, fuck. But anyway, no, I just get up and do it because I'm compelled to do it, right? But even out in this podcast, like while we're talking, I'm like, maybe I'll take the day off. Maybe I won't paint today. I'll just go back into it tomorrow, because the podcast is in the middle of the day, and usually I start painting right after I work out, like around 10 or 11 is when I go in, and after all my chores and working out, and then I'll paint till like 4 or 5. But yeah, like I just got to get up and do it. Like I just do it. It's part of my routine now. I paint every day from noon to 4. I take a break at 2, and I make a sandwich and sit in front of the painting and eat the sandwich, and then I paint. Because that's just what I do. Like, it's just like going to the tattoo shop now. It's just what it is. But no, I definitely future trip on a lot of that shit, and I'm like, oh, I gotta block this in and do this and do this and do that, and yeah, absolutely. I was doing it while we were talking. I was like, man, I'll just go play No Man's Sky for the fucking 3 hours, which I still might do. Who knows?
Hey, man, I mean, it's fine. The future's uncertain and the end is always near, as Jim Morrison once said.
Oh my God, that man.
So it was just an interesting thought on procrastination that I really enjoyed, and I thought I would share that, just because it helps to remind me to just go and get the shit done. and not dwell on, because it's so easy to get distracted, and it's so easy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Especially now with so many distractions. I mean,
right.
I gotta check my TikTok, Jerry.
You got to check your fucking conspiracy TikTok. Bees fly because they have wings, John.
So yeah,
and I don't know if the president recorded his press conferences before he went. I don't know. I just fuck that guy and fucking fuck bees. I hate bees too, but they gotta fly.
They gotta fly.
I do. I hate bees. I hate wasps more actually. Bees have purpose.
Bees have purpose. Wasps are just angry bees.
They're just mean cunts. Wasps.
What is the purpose of a wasp? Is there any
to
purpose?
Sting me on my neck when I'm doing my fucking run and fuck up my 5 miles.
It
flew into the neck gator in the back, man. Flew into it
and got trapped inside. And
and just I'll sting my way out of this. I was like, fucking really? Like that's like if I got caught in a door and decided I'm gonna punch my way out of this door. Fuck wasps. Fuck them forever.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I am looking forward to today and this next week. And
yeah, me too.
Let's
do it.
There you
Break.
go.
Yeah.
Break. All right, Jerry. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
and,
thank you, man.
For all you guys listening out there, if and when you hear this, if we haven't already recorded it, but we would love any questions that you have for us out there.
Oh yeah, Q, huh?
Q is for Q&A. Currently, I think I have 2 questions, so we'll just draw those out. But yes, please, if you're watching this, thank you. If you're listening to this, thank you.
Yeah.
And send us any and all questions.
Yeah. Hey, I want to give a shout out to a listener, Tony Guadano. I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Yeah, I'm not trying to play it up like, hey, here's the Italian version of his name, but yeah, that dude's cool. Send us some t-shirts.
What did you get?
He sent me a t-shirt from his band.
Okay. What's the name of the band? Is it
I think it's Trading Heroes for Ghosts.
Okay.
They do hardcore music. It's pretty cool. It's like hardcore metal. No, it's not metal. It's hard to explain.
It's hardcore.
It's screaming. It's when you fucking feel hardcore. Like when you go outside and feel hardcore, you yell at the neighbor's dog, take your shirt off, fucking do push-ups, throw a pumpkin in the street,
Except for the pumpkin, that's usually my afternoon. I mean, I don't yell at the dog. The dog's name is Molly, and I just usually go I'm at this point where I'm like, yes, Molly. I know, Molly.
That's my dog. My dog sucks, dude. My dog goes and tears it up.
Molly, you know me, and then I'll get close to her, and she'll run away and bark some more, and I'm like, and I'll walk away, and she'll come back up to the fence, and I'm like, yes, Molly, it's just me walking back from the mailbox. I'm gonna go do some.
Well, now you gotta listen to Trading Heroes for Ghosts on your fucking earbuds.
All right.
Yeah, and then just fucking growl at the dog, and the dog will be like, "Oh shit, that's some fucking East Coast hardcore right there. I need to get the fuck out of here." Got too real. But no, I wanted to thank that guy because he sent out a care package, and
that's awesome.
And
awesome.
He said he wanted to buy some Green Camel Press t-shirts. I need a new one too, by the way. We're brought to you by Green Camel Press.
Yes. So I'm actually working with a woman in Portland, and she's going to be selling some designs and stuff in her store, not her online store. So I will have stuff. I've got about 2.5 weeks to come up with all that shit. So we've all got a lot to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you follow me on Instagram, check it out. I got t-shirts for sale still, too, on Teespring.
That's
Same old
right.
designs, but I still got them.
That's right.
I guess we're plugging, so yeah.
All right, you guys, stay sober, have fun. Take care, Jerry.
Yeah, be good. Bye.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.